Lincoln's changing place throughout history. Abraham Lincoln presenter Fritz Klein joins others in period attire as they learn how to use this newfangled, mobile way to access the events and schedules where history comes alive at the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum in Springfield, Illinois. July 10, 2012. Washington. John Wilkes Booth shot Abraham Lincoln on April 14, 1865. The president died early the next morning. This month, it is 150 years since Lincoln was killed. Americans have changed their views of Lincoln many times since then. Lincoln ended slavery in the United States. He is also praised for keeping the country from splitting apart. Lincoln led the North to victory during the Civil War, 1860 to 1865. The slave-owning South was prevented from leaving the Union. To free the slaves, Lincoln had to fight against racism. Some of the problems he faced are still with us. Voting rights, then and now. The shootings in Ferguson, Missouri, and North Charleston, South Carolina, reminded many people of that. In both cities, police shot an unarmed black man. Such events are making Lincoln seem important again, historian Martha Hodes said. People are thinking about him in new ways. Other historians agree with Hodes. They point to today's fights over voting rights. Many feel that some states have laws that stop some blacks from voting. In his time, Lincoln had to fight against those who did not want blacks to be able to vote. Lincoln was not killed because he freed the slaves, said historian Michael Burlingame. He was killed because of a speech he gave on April 11, 1865. In it, he called for black voting rights. Booth heard Lincoln's speech. He was so angered by it that he decided to kill Lincoln. Side by side with Dr. King. Lincoln died fighting for civil rights, Burlingame said. He believes Lincoln should be honored alongside Martin Luther King. Lincoln has not always been admired, though. In fact, in some periods over time, many people thought less of him. Lincoln was criticized during the 1960s and 1970s. Some historians claimed he did not really care much about ending slavery. He had other reasons for fighting the South, they said. The Civil War was really about money, they argued. African Americans started turning away from Lincoln even earlier. For blacks, it began during the Great Depression of the 1930s. Many people were out of work during those years. Things were particularly hard for blacks. Many blacks were very poor during the Depression. They thought about what life was supposed to be and what it was not, historian Edna Green Medford said. Blacks felt they had not been given a fair chance, Medford said. They were saying, Lincoln freed us, but he didn't give us anything but our freedom. We needed land. We needed more opportunity. Lincoln remains important. Lincoln still remained important for African Americans, however. King's famous 1963 I Have a Dream speech shows that. It was given on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. The speech itself looked back to Lincoln and his promise of freedom for blacks. Today, many black Americans understand Lincoln better, Medford said. They realize how difficult it was for him to end slavery. He was president in a time when many Americans were openly racist.